Hello and welcome to the Epilogue episode, kind of final meta episode for the Rilla Revolution series. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the series as a whole, what worked, what didn't work, what kind of things could have been done better, what things need to be improved for next time. And it's not going to offer an awful lot of solutions. It's just going to offer up a list of things where if you have an idea, chuck it at me. But it's going to tell you what to expect for the next series that we do of this type. If there is going to be another of this type, there may be none that actually appears quite the same way this one does. We're also going to be telling you where to find the save file, and I'm going to be doing that right now. The save file is on the Discord. The Discord is a community Discord if you missed the channel update, and it is in the description below. I tend to hang out on it each day, and we have a few others. It also has an announcements tab where I'm going to be putting up the save file for this series. So if you want to go and look at your custom courtier in the files, you can do. If you want to continue playing as your courtier, you can do. If you just want to see what you can do with the world, see what's been happening, you can examine it to your heart's content. So let's talk about the series goals that we had at the start and how they have transferred into what happened at the end. Because I think that's a good start point to trying to work out what we were doing. So, the series goal at the start, as my plan in my head went, not necessarily the plan I told you, but the series goal was to make the Westeros a follower of R'hllor, make like the whole thing, and then to have the War for the Dawn trigger, us to beat it, preferably with Azor Ahai at some point being there, and then we beat it, celebrations, cue the end of Star Wars Episode 4, we walk down and get the medals, everything's great. However, that isn't what happened. We did convert a fair amount of Westeros, as in we converted the vassals. A lot of it didn't get converted, because I think conversion's a bit slower in the mod, at least from what I've seen from going back to vanilla. But you'll see here that a whole bunch of this is Old God, like it's all of the North is. We got a little bit there, Old God following. Is that Old God following? No, that is Beyond the Wall Old Gods, but it's different than that one. It's got a different religion here. Ah, religion is 10. Okay. But yeah, down here we've got some more R'hllor followers in the Riverlands, which to be fair is mostly the same as the North, because that's all the same ruler. The Vale was nicely converted, almost like properly converted in bits. We also had down here, we had Dorne, it had a little bit converted, and Dorne was fairly well converted as well. Central bit where we were, not so much converted. Down here in Weeping Town, we did a little bit, but we didn't really impact it a lot. And that's the first thing I want to talk about, is our impact on the series was incredibly low. Like, for our mission, it was incredibly low. And that's something where we need to think about, was this the right series to have the setup that we had? So it was a full RP series with custom courtiers with a very specific large-scale goal. And I don't think that works. I don't think that works at all. Let me go through the reasons I don't think that works. I think that custom courtiers and the full RP work. I think that they're fine. I think that's a way that it would work in it. We'll talk more about the custom courtiers and how they're implemented later. But I think that the full RP and the very large-scale mission did not work because they clashed very heavily in a mechanic side of things, where our mission was to convert everything to R'hllor, but we weren't going to do a lot of conquesting, and we weren't going to do, like, if we weren't a very intriguey character, we weren't necessarily going to focus on intrigue the entire time, and there weren't that many targets to convert that we could actively affect. So it got to the point where we were kind of just, like, we were spectators in the world of Westeros at this point. We had moments. We had good moments. We had things where our court had heavy action, but for the most part, it was a spectation, which doesn't work so well for a large-scale mission, because it didn't, we never achieved the mission. We never even, we never went close to it. So I would think that if we were to do this again, the first thing that I would say is, if we're doing absolute full RP, then what we should do is we should not have a goal that specific. We should have character-based... My thoughts here are character-based goals are probably the best. Character-based ambitions, aspirations, that fit the character's stats, the character's traits, things like that. I think that is a much better way of doing it, and kind of have it be like we're following a dynasty. I think that's a much cleaner way of doing it than the way that we were doing it, which was basically kind of random. Like, it didn't really work. It was just kind of, we'll try things out, see how it works. I also feel that heavy mission focus, kind of heavy objective on large scale did not work with custom courtiers either, because the custom courtiers were everywhere. They changed the game. They were in every single court, pretty much, they affected every single court, and they changed it. Dorne and the North and the Vale all had custom courtiers at their head at some point. Or if they did not have a custom courtier, they definitely had custom courtiers as very powerful vassals that changed the way that the realm was run. So it wasn't so it was more that they took over the storyline, which is good. That was good. That gave us something to work with. But they were also very much the focus, which I feel kind of took away from the idea that we had originally. So I think that if we were to do it again, custom courtiers would just have to, again, be kind of passive in it. Be a thing that can also be in the world. I feel that also what I did was I gave all the custom courtiers claims, because I felt that that would make action happen. And it did make action happen. However, it also didn't actually... it didn't mean that it didn't kind of naturally do things. It wasn't like they got their claims through their family members dying, passed them down. Now, I did that so that we had an awful lot of people who wanted to play bastard characters, and that kind of clashed heavily with what we were doing, with the idea of getting land. So they had to be Relore followers, and they had to be bastards for these people. So they had to have claims, so they had some way to get the land. So yeah, it didn't work out ideally. I think that but things that did work out well is they had unique storylines. We had the Blackfires versus, I forget the person's name and I feel really bad for it. But there was somebody who we had many trial by combats that went wrong, and it was there was investment from people on each side. And I think that was really cool. That was a thing that was kind of neat and doesn't really happen very much in Crusader Kings, to have two viewers who had an interest in their side winning in it. I think that's a cool thing. I'd like to do more of that. I just don't entirely know how. So, yeah, let's get on to the custom courtiers, because the custom courtiers are a very important part of the series, and they were implemented very badly, from my point of view. The way that they were in the game was good. They were very well placed. I liked them being placed in the different courts. I actually kind of liked them having the claims. They did action, they did stuff. But I didn't like that it took me, an extra of 5 or 6 hours every week to put them in. That bit I really did not like. That bit didn't really fit in with mine. I say 5 or 6 hours. That depended on the week. Week 1 was an insane number of hours, because there was 70 plus, and then week 2 was 50 plus people, and then there was a lot, and that's the problem as well. Now, here's the pros and cons from what I was thinking. I was thinking, okay, well, if there are too many custom courtiers, they're affecting the world too much, then the answer is to limit them, right? If you limit the custom courtiers, they don't affect the world, and they each get a bigger chunk of the story that can be focused upon them. And that then leads to the problem of having to choose them somehow. Do we do it randomly? Do we do it on a character death? Do we do it on, do I choose myself? Am I a judge of this? It doesn't really work. Do I do it by a vote system? You post your custom courtier, and whoever gets the most like thumbs up gets to be in the series. I don't know. None of those seem like a great answer to me. So I haven't quite thought of the solution to that yet. I was considering maybe something like a kid system, where instead of making a custom courtier, you chose the path that a child would take. So you said, this is my child, this is their personality, and you describe that. But then you don't get any of the people who are able to put in backstory or anything that they like to do, and that really adds a little bit extra to the characters. So there were issues all around there. Like, there were issues with exactly how things fitted together and exactly like it's not quite the right solution. I think the best solution is probably limiting it, but it's just finding a way that where it doesn't feel like there's, you know, I don't want somebody to spend a lot of time on like a courtier, be like, this is a courtier I've spent time on, I've invested in it, but it's never going to be in it because the random chance thing doesn't say yes. I don't know. It's a little bit odd, a little bit awkward. We'll think about it. There must be a way of doing it better. It could end up that the way of doing it better is just to find a better way of implementing them, because that would also help. In which case, if I found a better way of like putting them in the series, like as in of physically putting them in the save file, and that's much shorter, that would be a great solution, because that means I'm spending less time on the back end, and I don't care that there are a ton of courtiers because I can just do it quickly. If people didn't have appearance choices, that would definitely be something I could do. I just create, like, you know, 50 identical courtiers, change the traits, and boom, we're done. That could do fine. Like, you do change the name and the traits in the files, we could do that. Might be a cool idea to maybe have it be, I don't know, have it be like you create a, maybe after a jousting tournament, if a person who is neutral, like a person who is not noble wins or something like that, then we pull from a pool of custom courtiers that fit that and put them in. And then if somebody sees a character that they like in the series, they can say, I would like that character to be my character with a few adjustments. You could say that we're going to take away their, we're going to take away the fact that they're lunatic and add in and change the name, and then that could be my character, and I've got a story behind them. That could be a good way of doing it. It's very easy to alter characters very quickly that are put in the game, as long as you're not trying to change the relationships and things, because then that gets a little bit fiddly. But if you just want to change like name and a trait, that's really easy. You can do that with console commands. See, you can do well, I don't know if you can change name with console commands, but you can definitely change traits with just the add trait one that I've got there, or remove traits with remove trait. That could be a good way of doing it. It sets up a thing. Like, I could say, okay, at any point during the series, you can say, that character, I want them to be my character. We're just good, and I can say, okay, you're allowed one trait you can change on them, and you can change their name, and maybe you can change their age slightly if they're too old, and that could be cool. Or maybe you could change their graphical culture, because that's also a fairly easy thing to add in, like a graphical culture change, because I think it's like G_cult or G_cul equals whatever graphical culture you want in the save file, and it's just one line. You just enter it. As long as you don't care what they look like at the other side, you can do that easily. So yeah, there are some different ideas that I have, and we'll see when we start the next series what we're going to go with. But yeah, custom courtiers, not quite perfect, but I like that this series was definitely better than the Ironborn series when putting them in, because there was there was less kind of stopping at the start of each episode and going, here are the 2 new people who arrived in the court this week. That was really odd. The meta episodes were also a little bit odd. They were a little bit like lists, which I didn't really want them to be, which I think again would go for the limiting the custom courtiers. If we simply made it so that there was a set number of people in the actual thing, then what we could do is we could say, okay, we can spend time in the story or in each episode to look at this person, to be like, what are they doing? Are they a part of this, what's happening right now? That could be a cool thing to do. So yeah, we'll see exactly how we want to do that in the future. Maybe somebody has a good idea. And if you do, please paste it in the comments, paste it in the Discord that you're going to go to get the save file, things like that. So, anything else that we need to talk about for the series? I don't think there is. I think that it was an alright series. I think the ending was a little bit... Well, it was good, but it wasn't the ending that we were looking for. It didn't tie everything up quite the way I was looking. But it kind of fitted with the fact that the series hadn't quite gone in the direction I wanted it to. In terms of views, the start of the series did fairly well. And it kept it going for quite a long time. I talked about views because it tells me when interest died. Interest died heavily for the series kind of around like episode 30, episode 35, kind of that area. There was a significant drop. It went from like 300 an episode to like 175. I think it was just like, you know, things like Christmas, people just dropped out of the series. But those views may change over time. They may like rise up. But it tells me that was the point kind of where people were less interested. And either we want to make series... I think 50 episodes was fine. It stopped before people were completely bored of it, which I think is a good point. But yeah, we'll see. Anyway, that's about it for what I've got to say about the Ruler Revolution series. I will say a thank you to everybody who has made a courtier, everybody who was like interacting in the comments, everybody who wrote the backstories, and to the person who wrote the kind of logs of what was happening from their character's perspective. All of that was really cool, and it was cool to see like a lot of different faces around the place, and see a lot of people like interacting who weren't interacting before, because there was a purpose, there was a reason behind it, and I like that. I think that's a good point about the custom courtiers, where it kind of gives you like a horse in the race. It's saying like, I'm interested, I'm invested in what's happening, and I think that's really cool. And I just need to figure out a way of harnessing that a little bit better in terms of like mechanics, in terms of implementation. So, thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in whatever series comes next. See you next time. Goodbye.